They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
Anytime our air conditioning went out, it's just a truly nightmarish exists, especially when you broke as hell and couldn't just afford to fix it. Last time our air conditioner went out, to this day, we've just got window units at the house in Salina. They kind of hit harder when you've got multiple ones.
It can get cold as fuck.
Yeah, like you got one that's dedicated. Like every time I go there, still to this day, the room that I sleep in, I turn on the window unit back there and close the door, and it's just that's what's up. You can't
the
really
sound hits too.
Yeah, it does hit. You can't really get that with a with a central heating and air unit. So in your face, middle class people. So
I'm a window unit man.
Poverty flex.
I'm taking a window unit to Bonnaroo inside a 99 Expedition. You want a poverty flex? We're going to wire it in to the door instead of propping it and then run it on a generator.
No, that's the move right there.
Super awesome.
When is Bonnaroo?
It's got to be soon.
I'm leaving in the morning, son.
Oh, word?
Shit. On that note, I'm off next week.
Nice. Yeah, word. Yeah, well, thanks for holding it down for the past couple of weeks. Now all the boys are back here on the WellRED podcast. Who are you most excited about seeing? I don't know anything about you sent me the lineup a month or two ago, and I've done forgot.
I don't know. I think probably Billy Strings is up there for me because he's such a great musician, and everybody's saying that he's wild live. I want to see J. Cole pretty bad. Ludacris was up there, and he dropped out to film Fast and the Furious 47. Roddy Ricch got arrested at Governor's Ball, and so might not get to go to Bonnaroo. So that's a big bummer. I really want to see Mark Riboulet, the Loop Daddy, that guy who sings about licking butts at brunch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the guy that's like it's just him on the ones and twos. That guy. Yeah.
Turnpike Troubadours are playing in a plaza Thursday. They say it's going to get too packed. They're not going to let everybody in, but I know some people who are running that plaza, so I think I can get in, and I'm gonna cry. I can't wait to see the Turnpike.
What's a
plaza as a part of Bonnaroo?
It's a new thing. Yeah, so it's not that new. It's they've had it the last 5 years or so. I did comedy in a plaza, so now they have stages out in the camps. The camps are broken down. General camping is broken down into 7 areas. Each area has a plaza. One of them is a coffee shop. One of them is the House of Yes, which is a collective out of Brooklyn that runs a bar, and they have like drag shows and dance parties. The rest of them are stages, and whoever runs the plaza can just do whatever they want there. I did one that was comedy. Plaza 5 this year is basically just doing country music, and this DJ named, I think, Disco Cowboy, who just spins. I mean, honestly, guys, we yet again are at the forefront of the zeitgeist. 90s country and country music and hip country is in. So this whole plaza is basically hipster country shit.
Nice.
And Turnpike and Paul Cawthon are playing Thursday night.
We really are at the best point that we could be at in our lives because, like, as mid-30s dudes, what it means is that people your age are sort of starting to run things. They're not running the whole world. I know those are still the old
boomers
white men.
Won't die, dude.
Yeah, right. But people our age are starting to become in charge of like entertainment and like culture and stuff like that. And everybody is such a fiend for nostalgia that means that our favorite shit just comes back to the forefront, which rules.
Yeah, and there's also bands I missed because my brother wasn't into them that the Gen Xers are bringing around. I just started listening to this band Turnstile. You fuck with them? They're a hardcore band, which is I think a subgenre of punk. I sound very stupid to some Gen Xers right now.
No, I think that's right.
Yeah, all the Gen Xers. Well, we have plenty of Gen Xers listening.
My brother only listened to rap and like Guns N' Roses.
Yeah,
checks out.
So that I missed a lot of 90s music. Like I never got into the Beastie Boys. Well, Turnstile rules.
Yeah, mine was not because of a brother or anything. Mine was because of the church. So like I wasn't allowed to listen to a lot of stuff. But then like I would go off with my buddies who like went to the school with black people, so they introduced me to like Bone Thugs and shit. But that was always stuff I had to listen to like in my room with the headphones on.
Well, I guess same. The church is why I didn't hear anything. But then my brother I don't know if you guys remember his backstory, but he didn't do a lot of stuff they told him to do when it comes to the church. So I was sneaking in his room, when he was gone, and I would listen to Bone Thugs, Tupac, Dr. Dre. The Chronic was like one of his favorite albums.
Yeah, my cousin BJ, my older
Rest in
first,
peace.
R.I.P.
Rest in peace. Yeah, my older first cousin, who's felonious pillbilly type feller, but a sweetheart
Raiders fan,
and so naturally a Raiders fan. Yeah, he's the reason I'm a Raiders fan. He's the one. I didn't have none of those church limitations. I was allowed to listen to whatever I wanted to, but he's the way I got introduced to rap music. And it was mostly West Coast rap, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, The Chronic, and all that stuff. NWA, that was his shit. Raiders connection. It all makes sense. But that's how I got into rap in the first place. And then I separately found out about one of the first ones for me on my own, and I don't even remember how, but I was pretty big Puff Daddy and the Bad Boy family.
Oh yeah.
MTV is how that happened.
Yeah,
he was all over,
and he was,
man.
he was Biggie's boy, so
right. And Mace was a big one for me, but then of course
he's a pastor now.
I know, yeah, the Lord learnt him pretty quickly, but of course DMX rose above it all. But I was allowed. I remember I've told the story before, but my dad did not like rap music whatsoever, but he also was never gonna tell me I couldn't listen to something. It's like I said, my dad was showing me R-rated movies when I was 7 years old. Censorship is bullshit, son. That's what he used to say. So he was down for whatever, but I tried to get my very, very Christian, very buttoned up guidance counselor to buy Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood for me when it came out, the DMX album where he's covered in blood on the cover of it. And the fucking titles.
He's got blood on his dick because he fucked a corpse.
Yeah, that's the album. That's it. Yeah. And she was horrified. I tried to tell her, my dad, he's cool with it, but she just wasn't having it. And then so I had to have my dad get it for me like the next week or something.
Like on a trip or something?
Yeah, we used to I don't know, most schools do this, but I feel like because we were in Salina where there wasn't nothing, we'd take a field trip that had some kind of educational premise, but it would also often include a stop at a mall or like an O'Charlie's or some stuff we didn't have in Salina. That would be part of the field trip.
Places to eat.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So this is a great.
Every field trip we had pretty much included something.
Look over there; it's a functioning family.
So this is that's great. This is a great little callback because with Carmen and DJ last week, we talked about your favorite field trips. Carmen talked about how they would go to Disney World, but it would they went all the time because she grew up in Orlando,
right
so it was kind of like whatever. DJ, of course, talked about when he would get to go to the yard and get exercise for an hour. I brought up the Lost Sea because, little contrarian Drew, what I was saying was I just couldn't believe anything rad. They were like, it's rad. I'm like, no, it's not. It's in Sweetwater. There's no way it's that cool. And it blew my mind. That was my favorite one.
I've never been. I don't know what that is.
Know. Yeah, we never went to that.
Oh, you don't know about the Lost
You mean Sweetwater, Tennessee?
The Lost Sea, though.
Yeah.
You know about the Lost Sea?
I don't know anything about that.
So it's it's an underground lake. It's a cavern and with an underground lake. And when I was a kid, I was like, all right, there'll be some water underground. Dude, it's 4 miles. We had to take 4 separate boat trips. We were down there for 3 hours.
Underground? You were underground the whole time? That's crazy as hell. I don't know how.
They got fish down there that are blind because they've evolved over time.
I've heard of that.
I bought a knife and then I put it to my neighbor's throat as a joke, and my dad wouldn't let me have it after that.
Yeah,
it was.
You'll have that.
Good call, Dad.
So
you bought a knife on a school trip, and that just flew.
Yeah.
They had a knife buying. They had a knife buying portion of the trip. As a matter of fact, don't forget to get your knives. Kids.
It wasn't a black man expressing himself.
Yeah,
right?
No, I remember knives were totally fine.
You make me remember something. We went to Ruby Falls and Rock City is just right up the road. So we went to those all the time. And I remember in their gift shop, they had what was meant to look and act like a switchblade knife, but it popped out and it was a comb.
Oh yeah.
Y'all remember those?
What about
dude,
we have butterfly combs. Remember butterfly knives?
Yeah.
Dude, we used to get
Those
them
things were
motherfuckers,
huge.
and they ended up taking them away from us because we'd be doing what you did. We'd be on the bus, just like sticking it against each other's throats and shit like that. And it's like this was at a kid's gift shop. And they're like, wouldn't they love it if they had a switchblade comb? That and fucking candy cigarettes and shit, man. Like,
dude,
the not too distant past was also pretty
You
wild.
just cosplaying
It sure
as one of the
was.
outsiders.
Yeah.
I remember the annual festival in Salina every year used to be called the Moonshine Days. Now they call it Homecoming or some generic shit. But, huge step down. But I remember at the Moonshine Days when I was a kid, they had a booth set up, and it was for kids. It was like kids' toys and things like that. And there was a knife section, and these were like little girl knives, they were like pink and purple and stuff like that. And so Paige wanted one, and it was just like, why wouldn't she have one? And Paige was probably 5 at this time, something like that. And so she got her little girl knife, and then we went back home to my mom's apartment after that, and she's out on the porch, and she starts screaming, and I go out there, and we're there alone, by the way, like it's just me and her. I'm 8, she's 5, no idea where anyone's at, and I run out there, and there's blood everywhere, to the point that I, as an 8-year-old, I was like, that's not funny. What are you doing? Like, I thought it was fake, which makes no sense, but I just couldn't process that she was literally bleeding all over the place. And then when she got through to me by, wailing in my face that it wasn't a joke, then I started freaking the fuck out. And I ran to like a neighbor's apartment, I think is what I did, and called. And then, she was fine. She was never in any danger. It was like she cut her hand or something and it was bleeding a lot, but it wasn't actually dangerous. But I didn't know that. I thought she was going to just fucking bleed out on my watch, but I don't believe she got that knife taken away. I think she chose to not fuck with it anymore after that, but like no one was like, she ought not have knives.
No, of course not. She needs to learn how to use that knife.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Did y'all ever used to play chicken with the pocket knives and stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah, steak knives more than pocket knives.
Yeah.
They gave me a steak knife instead of a pocket knife once when I wanted a pocket knife.
That ain't it.
What kind of chicken?
So both people stand facing each other, and your feet are shoulder width apart. And then you throw the knife and stick it in between their feet. And if you make it, then they take 2 steps in until your feet are there. And dude, we were just stabbing each other in the foot.
You do that one?
The two. That
5-finger fillet, I believe that's called.
Ugh.
And we as kids, we were just like, these are like our parents would like watch us. We would be playing chicken like at church, like in the Sunday school floor, and everybody was just like, look at these kids, ain't that good Christian white fun?
I need to add some of this to I got a new bit all about this. About like you said, the not too recent past was pretty insane too. Like because it's all true.
About
shit
how
was just wild.
Yeah, our parents act like our childhoods were so different, but they really weren't that different.
Right.
Well, dude, they gave me that steak knife because they didn't want me to have a pocket knife for my clubhouse. I was like notching trees and
I feel like a pocket knife is safer than a
way
steak
safer.
knife. Yeah,
right.
It closes up.
If I tell this story in front of my mom, she swears that it was a butter knife. I know it wasn't. I will tell you guys why in a minute. But what may have happened is she was like, "Go over to that drawer, and get you a knife," thinking it was going to be a butter knife. Me and Tasha were doing that, and then I did what you were talking about, Corey. It wasn't chicken. I was just trying to throw it in the ground and look cool.
Yeah.
I was 5. Tasha was 4. She had her shirt off because we were redneck kids.
Yeah, right.
It bounced up and stabbed into her titty.
And
when we would party together in college, Tasha would inevitably get drunk and then tell everyone she had a scar on her titty where I stabbed her when we were 4.
She pull them out?
I don't recall that. That wasn't part of it for me.
Well, you said it was a party, so I didn't.
Yeah. Well, she may have later. That might have been trying to get people to think about her titties. Reiterate, this is my cousin. But yeah. Oh, I was going to ask y'all though, what's your favorite field trip when you were younger?
Man,
We answer that question right after this.
that's a good
Yeah.
call, Trae.
I don't really. I feel like I don't have any good ones, honestly. Like they were all like
Going to the
very-
mall's pretty good, dude. Did you finger anybody?
no.
Oh, don't hit.
I only fingered somebody on the FFA horse judging trip.
Yeah,
and
but that judge got a 10, son. Or that
Yeah.
horse, I mean.
So all I can remember is like real, just school type shit. We would go to plays a lot, like at the Upper Cumberland Playhouse, which is like a theater in Crossville.
Yeah, Andy's done plays there.
Which is like Crossville's like arguably the most redneck town in that whole area, and it's wild they have a theater there. But the type of productions we were saying, we didn't know any different. I mean, hell, I guess they sort of hit, but and then every now and then there'd be something that just had no educational value. Like I remember once when I was probably a freshman or sophomore or something like that. It was like a Saturday trip. We went to Six Flags in Atlanta, and that was That was a big deal. I remember my buddy Chase said to me, Chase Stevens, and keep in mind we have the Free Hills black community in Salina and had black kids in our grade in school. But Chase Stevens, who was our quarterback on the football team, came up to me and said, "Trae, I didn't know there was this many black people." And I was like, and I said, "Well, you mean like in one place at one time?" And he goes, "No, I mean like in the world, in the whole world. I didn't know there was this many black people." And I was like, "Yeah, well, surprise."
He never watched sports.
Does he ever heard of Africa?
He was a sweetheart, but he was
dumb,
man,
boy.
They didn't have that scene though. They didn't have that scene in Varsity Blues.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, Six Flags Atlanta, I mean, it was a shock to the system.
Mine are kind of cheats because like they weren't like so like obviously your senior year you've got the senior trip.
And I'm talking about little kids.
Yeah, so this is kind of a cheat. Like in fifth grade, this is fifth grade, so I was a little kid. But we took like the fifth grade class got to go. We went to Washington D.C. and
we did that in eighth grade.
And we did eighth grade. We went to
something like that.
Eighth grade, we went to Williamsburg, Virginia, which was super dope too. And I think that both of those
where they all dress up like they're in the colonials
reenactments. Yeah, and it was.
Was this like during the school? Like, would you take days off of school to go to these places and stay overnight? And they obviously come out. Yeah, we never. It
was a Thursday through Sunday thing, but it was like when you're the like fifth grade, eighth grade, senior year. So it's like you're about to leave to go to a whole new school or whatever. So it was the end of the year thing. So it's not like a regular field trip. But we went to Washington D.C. when I was in fifth grade, and dude, like I think between that and like us going to Williamsburg when I was in eighth grade, like that cemented my interest in history throughout my whole life. Like I saw all that shit and I was just like, man, there's old stuff. I mean, granted, it was old at the time. And I know that now if I was to go to Williamsburg, I would think it was the cheesiest shit in the world because I'm certain that it looks faker than shit. But at the time, it was super cool. And there was a Ben Franklin motherfucker and like, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
We did eighth grade DC. I enjoyed that a lot. I did finger a girl. That's what made me think of that earlier. Also, a kid stole probably a DMX CD. It might have been the Big Timers and got arrested. Like his parents had to come get him. I was with him when it happened.
They had to come to fucking DC.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Mad.
I bet.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
when we were in Williamsburg,
I almost didn't get a go. I just remember that because I broke a urinal at school and had to pay for it. I almost didn't get a go.
The best thing that happened on the eighth grade trip when we were in Williamsburg and we saw that it was about to happen. Our buddy Brad was running through this like little grassy area and there was this big old pile of dog shit. And like he was just like in perfect stride to it. And we watched it like happen in slow motion and he hit this dog shit, got it all over his fucking shoe and he slipped and it went all up his fucking calf muscle. And son, I think it's one of them things where you laugh all day, like it don't quit. You know what I mean? Like you start laughing, you die, then it gets a little bit better, and then you just see the motherfucker and you die again. And every time I see him nowadays, I think about him slipping in that dog shit. So that's probably my favorite.
I was Brad. I got shit on by a bird twice at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And I started
they knew you were a commie.
I started gagging And then like my teacher got mad at me, showed some respect. I was like, I got bird on me. And everybody laughed at me the whole time too. So that was fun. That girl I fingered is a cop now.
Oh, nice.
I don't have it.
That Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is fucking eerie shit.
So weird, dude.
Like I remember
strange.
Yeah.
What would you call that? Ritual?
Yeah. So like as a kid, it was just like, oh wow, man, this is, Saving Private Ryan just come out. This is cool. And then like I remember going later, and I'm just like, it very much reminded me of that Burr bit, that whole say what we say when we say it, and like seeing any of that type of ritualistic stuff, just like it terrifies the fuck out of me, probably for no reason.
Well, they're like, we don't know who this soldier is. We just found his body, and this represents all the soldiers who will never be identified. It's like, we should work harder
on that. Yeah.
I don't know. Some of them just, they get exploded. They're goo, whatever. What are you gonna do?
We are looking into
that. I feel like most people, and I don't know, maybe part of this is like, we're not talking about ancient shit, but like, if you see rituals from other cultures, usually it's like, oh, that's real cool type of reaction. It would be weird and colonially to be like, this fucking gross. What are they doing? That's stupid. You know what I mean? So you don't say that. But if we have a corresponding ritual related to death and whatnot, then it's like, I don't like this. It's fucking weird.
I think it's the war glorification more than the death for me, but I know exactly what you mean, because sex rituals or any relationship to sex, other countries, even if it makes us uncomfortable, we're like, I'm not supposed to say it makes me uncomfortable because that would be douchey.
Yeah,
but then with our own, people will be like, man, fucking, BDSM jokes, kink shaming. It's like we have to invent these words to keep people from making fun of everybody.
That's actually true, because when we were like near Buckingham Palace or whatever, we saw like the changing of the guards, them doing it, and I was just like, oh, this is fucking cool. They're wearing red coats, like this is great. But yeah,
did you try to make them laugh and get slapped?
No, because I've done my research on that, and they will beat the shit out of you.
They will slap you.
Well, let's get into it.
Wait, hang on, because I had two other.
I also want to hear about your weekend, Drew.
I was going to say, let me review my life while y'all were gone. That'll take 5 minutes, and then
okay. Well, two other field trip things before we move on from that, because I remember them later. First, I should just note, I said Salina didn't do any of that type of overnight type shit. That there was a really, really cool trip in Salina, but I didn't get to go because it cost a lot of money. It was probably a really good deal for what it was, but it was still like a couple of $1,000s. It was in the summertime, and they would go in high school. They would go to Europe every year.
Holy shit. Salina would?
Yeah. Like
God
Thompson.
How many people got pregnant?
Thompson went, but like it was literally like it was like 2 weeks or something, and I feel like it was like a little over $2,000. So again, like as an adult, I know that that's a good deal, but also $2,000. It might as well have been $200,000.
Well, 2,000 back then too was a little bit more than it is now.
Yeah, right. Sure. But either way, it just wasn't in the cards for me.
Right.
Like I tried, and my grandpa basically laughed. He's like,
did they have like a program where you could like sell coats or whatever?
Yeah, or pills.
I don't know. I don't remember that being a thing.
Yeah, that was our thing for like our senior trip. The kids that couldn't afford it, like Coca-Cola would like give the school crates of fucking 20-ounce Cokes like at cost or whatever, and you could go door to door and sell them and shit.
Yeah, Trae, his community, his poor community there on the outskirts of Chattanooga.
I didn't
free Coke donated to
listen,
for the black kids they let there for the football team. Why did you just do that?
Well, first off, I didn't have to do it because my shit was just paid for. I was just asking if they did have any kind of program like that.
Not that I recall. It would have been just everybody would have been to sell Cokes. But
exactly.
The other thing I was going to say, I remember, and this is also a high school trip, not a little kid trip. And I think I've told this before, but it's been a long time if I have. It was an ag trip. We took an ag trip to MTSU to like go around their ag program, and a big part of it was at the time.
You saw the Cal TV?
The Cal TV? Now, this has happened multiple times. I'm not the one who saw the Cal TV. This is the first time I've ever remembered what you mean by Cal TV. I remember now, but previously you'll bring up the Cal TV, and I'm like, what are you talking? And then you explain it, but it's where you could see into the side of a cow, right?
That's
Yeah.
me.
That
We've
wasn't
done
me.
this before.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
at UT Martin, where
Yeah.
I was a governor school instructor, and
see?
Teats would get his hammer and walk us over and be like, "You want to stick your hand inside of a cow?" And I'd be like, "What?" He goes, "There's a hole in it. Come on."
So this
Our cows had holes in them too that we'd stick our hands in, but it wasn't on purpose.
Yeah,
it was
they had
looking at
next to them.
various ag programs at MTSU, right? But one of them, and this is like 2002 or 2003, and at the time, and I guess they fell way behind at some point. At the time, they were like at the forefront of like, what's the word? Cars that don't run on gas. What's
green energy hybrid cars?
Yeah, but they didn't even have
Electric
the word hybrid
cars?
yet. It was just like
Just electric
alternative fuel source vehicles, right? Like trying to figure out cars that didn't run on gas, right? MTSU was at the forefront of that at the time. They had a car that was like fucking hydrogen, and then they had like biofuel, like ethanol and stuff like that. And we went and checked that whole program out. And the dude who was in charge of the whole thing was this PhD old boy. He was in like overalls and shit, Dr. fucking Cooter, you know, and he was, and this dude was like,
fucking Cooter.
Yeah, he was like,
I fucking really did it for me.
Yeah, he was very highly respected in his field.
He was German, Cordy. Dr. fucking Cooter.
He was like, you know, brilliant and was in charge of this whole thing, but he was also red as hell. And I remember he gathered us all around. He was talking us all through whatever. He's like, he goes, it got real Raven at the end because he's like, boys, I'm supposed to tell y'all, you know, I'm doing all this. I'm dedicating my life to it because of, you know, the environment, saving the planet, all that type of shit. And that, you know, and that's fine. But the truth is, I just want to stick it to the Arabs.
Corey really has forgotten that based on that laugh.
Yeah, I knew I'd told it before. But
no,
yeah,
I remembered it as soon as you said it. But yeah that's.
I'm gonna be honest.
Get us off of their oil.
I thought Chinese was coming. I think I made it Chinese in my head since we're now at war with the Chinese energy wise.
Yeah,
I think
all that oil we can't, you know, the OPEC and all that. He's trying to save us from all that.
I remember us the first time I remember the first time we talked about this, we came to the conclusion that it's like sometimes you just got to accept that someone can be on your side and an asshole at the same time. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because like he's still doing good work, but not maybe for the right reason.
Yeah,
we need assholes.
Yeah, I think that. Oh, and then circling way back, just so I saw J. Cole at Bonnaroo before his first actual album came out. This is like mixtape J. Cole, and it was fucking awesome. It's one of the best shows I ever saw in a tent. It would be a whole different affair now since he's,
main stage
going through the stratosphere, in the intervening years. But I'm sure it'll hit real hard. I hate to say, but must say, might have just been a one-off. And you said he's not going to be there anyway, but I saw Ludacris at Bonnaroo too, and was really looking forward to it. And it didn't hit for me the way the whole setup was. It was like, Ludacris has done a whole lot of features. Well, he kept like playing those songs so he could do his feature, which I got, but they would play a lot of the song, like fucking like Glamorous. Is that one he was in? Like whatever Fergie song had Ludacris in it, just Glamorous. As an example, they would play like a lot of that song. So for like a big chunk of time, it's just a song playing,
and he's just up there hitting
someone else's song. Yeah, and then finally he'll do his verse or whatever. But he did like a lot of that.
Yeah, he should have done like a melody of them or a medley.
Yeah, no, I know, right? And that's what I'm saying. It just sort of didn't hit for me because there'd be long stretches where you're just sitting there like, why am I listening to Fergie? I know that Luda's coming, but we don't need all this. Just play a couple of fucking beats or whatever.
Dude, just do chicken and beer.
Do the thing. I know that too, like I know. I was also like, man, you got plenty of jams just of your own that everybody.
So many
here. Just do those, but it seemed more focused on the shit he had featured in. Although, because of that, I wandered off to some other show, so I'm sure he might have circled back around to hitting. That was just like the features part of his set that I happened to see, and it didn't hit for me. So, but anyway, I still love Luda though.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds awful. I know a lot of times too at a festival the rap can be bad because of the sound or whatever.
Yeah, like Big Boy wasn't that great,
Dude,
and I know he's great.
Fucking Run the Jewels at Governor's Ball sucked. I couldn't hardly hear him. And then Outkast at the same festival but on a different stage was awesome. So it just be that way sometimes. But on the features thing, I'll send you this video. I think at Governor's Ball recently, within the last week, there's this kid going viral. Anderson .Paak has a song with someone, I think their name is Corday. I'm not up on the new rap, but Anderson wasn't there, and this kid had a sign, "Bring me on stage, I know all his words," and they did.
Nice.
And they rapped it together, and the kid was really, really good. And it's one of those raps. It's not like your verse, my verse. They're finishing each other's lines.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's really, really, really sweet. I'll send it to you guys. I just saw it like yesterday or this morning.
Hey, speaking of features, I saw that you had an interesting person pop in and feature on one of your shows this weekend. What was that all about?
Yeah, I let this up-and-comer open for me. His name's Brian Regan. The way it went down was really wild. So DJ and I have been on tour. We got one more show in Birmingham on the 22nd of June, and then we've got a bunch of dates we're going to announce for August soon.
We're at in Birmingham.
We're at Avondale Brewing, which is like it's a huge venue. Like the Truckers played there, but they've got 2 stages. Like I guess that whole like let's have shows at a brewery has become so specialized that now
Alex Stokes, he's the number one brewery comedian in the world.
I've heard that. Yeah, mm-hmm. This is a real venue. But so anyway, my point is, come out even if you don't like beer. Birmingham on the 22nd. We were in Chattanooga. We did a show at Cherry Street Tavern, which is the Bohannon Boys, who are just great people. They're former punk rockers, and they own a bar. And DJ was like, I want to do one at their bar. You know, it might not be the best comedy venue, but, you know, Michael's busy and blah, blah, blah. And we usually do JJ's. I was like, all right, we'll check it out. It ended up being one of the raddest shows we've ever done. Anyway, I'm on stage, and it's a bar, so there's like windows behind you, like, you know, at the front of the bar. And I turn around, and it's Brian Regan. And I just like immediately was like, holy shit, that's Brian Regan.
Did you know he was in town?
I did not. Okay, so apparently he did have a theater show. And I found out later that his buddy, after the show, he was like, I want to get a shot and a beer. And his buddy was like, I know a cool bar that's on the other side of downtown, so maybe no one will bother us. So I turned around, I go, holy shit, it's Brian Regan. And he kind of looks at me, and I go, Brian Regan, come in. And then I see him go up to the door guy, and the door guy's like asking him for ID and a credit card. So I walk out with the
Brian Regan's gray-haired.
He was outside walking by, and you just saw him, and you yelled at him from the stage, and he heard you. And
the door guy's got the door open.
Yeah.
That's
door
wild.
guy did not have the door open.
Oh, that is wild.
So presumably everybody walking by outside could hear
me scream it.
Yeah, right. Which is, I mean, that's fine. It's just like
now I will say this. He said this, and I didn't believe him. But apparently he's niche famous because about 10 people in that crowd went nuts. And then about 60 people in that crowd went, who?
Yeah.
Well, were they just young?
Maybe, but it still blew my mind. Some of them were old.
Right.
I mean, you know, it's a lot of our fans were there.
Well, anyway, you know, he's never had a TV. I mean, he's had that one sketch show, but like he is one of those guys that we always talk about that it's like, man, it's so wild that he is where he is, and it's purely from stand-up, you know? Right.
So I yelled out. I walked out there. I was like, hey, let him in. It's fine. He's on the show. So he comes in. People go nuts. And DJ had started this bit where the door is right by the stage. If anybody walks in, we yell Freebird at them. Because unfortunately, earlier in the night, someone yelled in and started literally yelling January 6th. During DJ's set, yeah. So after DJ kicked that person out and dealt with it, and it was like a crazy veteran, and apparently they were fans. Apparently it was like a fan of ours. It was like, I don't know if it was WellRED or Any of the Biscuit or both, but DJ was like, nah, man, it wasn't like, fuck you. It was like, Why ain't you talking about
Talk
it?
about
Yeah,
this?
right.
Yeah, right.
Which is arguably worse.
Way worse. So,
Mhm.
so I guess DJ decided, he goes, listen, every other person who walks in that door, y'all just yell Freebird at them, because whether they're cool or not, well, that's the test. If we yell Freebird at them and they're cool, they can come in. So we had that going. Brian Regan walks in. Half the crowd cheers because we built up to it. I've been outside. And the other half screams Freebird, which he didn't
He had no
acknowledge,
context for it.
but he made that face, that Brian Regan one eyebrow, the rock thing he can do.
Yeah.
And I was like, Brian Regan, everybody. And then I pulled the mic away and I go, hey man, you don't have to do time at all, but also you are very welcome to. And he goes, well, I'll do 10. I introduced him right then. He walks on stage and he goes, hey, I'm coming from another show I had tonight at the Tivoli Theater. You guys weren't there, so thanks for nothing. And that murdered. And then he did 2 jokes, the second one of which was very long. It was about being on an airplane and sitting in the emergency row and no one thanking you afterwards.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that bit.
And the one before, I don't even know what he did before. I got it all on tape, and I also got a pretty cool video of me bringing him in that a fan sent me that I haven't posted yet. I haven't done anything this week but work outside. But anyway, it was rad. He did 10, and then I had to go back up and follow him. And Good Cop, Bad Cop was there, and they murdered. They're even better than they were. Like, they have new songs, and they're genuinely incredible. And I'd already been complaining about having to follow music.
Yeah, it's hard. I had to follow them, and it was tough.
So then I walk back up there after already having done that for about 15 minutes. Regan comes on. Then I go back up there, and technically the show's not over. Like, we haven't hit our 90 minutes. It wouldn't be a big deal if we don't, but I'm like, I guess I'm going to try to do 15 or 20 more. And I did, and it went really well. And part of the reason I did it is I was like, I want Brian Regan to see me do stand-up.
Yeah, of course.
So
he
hammered.
stayed.
He stayed. He watched.
I would have got the fuck out of there.
Then we hung out, and I think that's what he wanted, man. Like,
Yeah, right.
I don't think I've ever hung out with anybody famous or famous-ish quite like Brian Regan. He talked to every comedian that wanted to talk to him, and not like in a I'm being nice way. He just stood in one place. If you came up to him, he was happy to have a conversation. He bought us rounds. He wanted to hear about stand-up. He was very intrigued in basically my life as like what I would call a middle-class comedian. Like the fact that I'm a pro, but he has no idea who I am. Like, he was very intrigued by all that. And, I told him, like, WellRED sometimes does theaters in some cities, or sometimes me and DJ are doing bars. Well, we talked about jokes. I've been doing some stuff about my brother. Some of it was rough. Some of it is working really well. And he wanted to talk to me about that. And he was very intrigued by it all. I was on cloud 9. Dia was too, man. We were texting each other all day the next day. Like, can you believe that happened? Can you believe how cool he was? It was truly incredible.
Coming from his perspective, you got to think about it. Unless, obviously he can bring his feature anytime he wants, but like, because he's been at the level he's at for so long, he doesn't really get to hang out in a room of comedians all the time, especially ones that he doesn't know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, in his feature afterwards, thanked me and said, he really loved that, by the way. He doesn't get to do stuff like that. And I go, honestly, I wanted him to know that I didn't expect it, but like that he could do time. And he was like, no, he loves it. I think Brian Regan just loves everything about stand-up comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
His girlfriend is a longtime girlfriend. She was super sweet. She was clearly very smart. Had a lot of good conversations with her. But, like, neither of them have kids, or at least I think that's what they said. My point is, like, I think Brian Regan just likes traveling the country doing stand-up comedy and meeting people. And it was really rad. Really rad.
Yeah, he's one of the, as far as like being niche famous, he's like built up this following of, he's claims there's this huge swath of people that are like, they will only fuck with clean comedy, obviously, right? It's like, oh, I know that that's safe to go out to or whatever. And I feel like that group of people, it's sort of like another version of how there's like this massive group of people on the internet that fuck with all the like Rogan verse. You know what I mean?
Or
like,
the Legion of Skanks.
Yeah, right. Like that. There's like that, but for clean comics too. And Brian Regan's like the top guy in that.
Brian Regan, Gaffigan, Bargatze.
Exactly. Yes. All those dudes. And
he's
Brian
probably
Regan,
the third most famous. I mean,
and
he's
like
probably just
now Leanne Morgan's a big part of that whole deal. And it's like, once you get into that world, once you're known in that world, like those people will support the shit out of you. Right.
Yeah.
But But Brian Regan, so he's the biggest in that world. He does like fucking Red Rocks and shit. But I'm not surprised that just like walking around the streets of your average city, around bars and stuff like that, that there's a lot that you said, there was whatever 10 people that love him and 60 people that didn't know who he was. I'm not, because he's not like a movie star comic, he's a comic.
Right.
And a lot of people just don't know comics, period.
It might be an age thing, but I would argue Gaffigan's probably more famous based upon
the Hot Pocket
crowd.
Alone. Yeah.
And people being like, oh, like Gaffigan. I was going to say, he said a very interesting thing about what you were just talking about. And I it was a private convo. I don't want to make it sound like he was saying something he wasn't. And I definitely don't want to reveal something he doesn't want to reveal, but he definitely said something interesting about how he has chosen very purposefully to express himself the way that he expresses himself. But he has been, I think he used the word surprised at times at what he's gotten back from that. And I'm pretty sure he was alluding to, by being clean, he gets embraced by people who aren't like him, who don't see the world.
Right.
He likes that. But I'm being careful because it's clear that he wasn't mad about that.
Yeah, right.
But he was basically saying it was a conscious decision to express myself the way I want to express myself, but not a conscious decision to be embraced by Christians necessarily.
Yeah, right. But you will have that.
But it was conscious, and I thought that was very interesting. And he said it was conscious because of how he feels as an artist, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, I heard Bargatze make a joke about that same type of thing on a podcast with Joe DeRosa the other day. Joe DeRosa, he's way different. He's very, very dark and blue and not family friendly at all. And I love them both. I think they're both great. But DeRosa was saying how he ended up getting booked somehow on a show at an old folks home, right? And he was just like, so, fucking nightmare. And Bargatze was like, what are you talking about? It's like, that's a dream scenario for me. He's like, old folks home, I know I'm going to crush. He's like, that's my crowd right there. Like, it's like playing with a corked bat for me going into old folks home. So like he fully embraces that whole deal. Yeah. He also talked about, it's just like, that's just the way that because they sort of asked him like how he made that decision or whatever, that type of thing. And he was just like, it's just, that's just the way my brain works. It's like, it's just the type of stuff that it's not like I think about R-rated bits and then think to myself, I can't do that.
Yeah, right.
But he won't let people curse on his podcast and stuff. So he's clearly trying to cultivate something there.
I think it's just that he knows he's got it. So why fuck with it now at this point, I guess.
Before we take another break and before you guys bring us home with Tales of the UK, I just wanted to do some highlights of the WellRED Beard podcast, but for y'all, like highlights for y'all, because everybody's listening right now. Y'all were here. You guys know what all went down. Carmen was great, as always. She shared a lot of cool stuff. She has her special out on HBO. You can watch it on HBO Max right now. It's awesome, et cetera, et cetera. My favorite thing from the week is there have been at least 3 comments of people who have been very kind, saying that they are going to miss me. And when you guys come back. So I just want to say to those people,
they think you were leaving?
They didn't know I was on this podcast, is the way I was reading it.
I don't know who this Drew guy is, but he's done great. He's done great. I don't know where they found this guy, but I like him.
Oh, God.
That's wild.
Yeah. It might have been like syntax. They were trying to say they were going to miss Carmen, and they're just not great writers. But that's not what they said. Oh man. Well, we'll be right back after this.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys went to Scotland. You guys have been saying England the whole time. You may have said UK once.
I was trying to say the UK the whole time.
Not a twinge of jealousy till you sent a fucking text saying something about Scotland, and then I was like, fuck these fat pieces of shit.
Well, even the UK wasn't really because we didn't go to Northern Ireland or Wales. We went to England and Scotland specifically. Scotland was the part I was most excited about.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about England. Tell me about Scotland.
When we were in England, people kept telling us, they're like, you're probably going to find a certain kinship with the Scots, I would imagine. And did they say it in a snotty way? No, but they didn't say it in a snotty way, but it was like you could tell what they meant. I think.
Yeah, right.
Like,
they're fucking rednecks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It's like they're fucking stupid sheep fuckers up there. The way that
y'all love them,
the way that y'all are.
I know what they meant.
And but the thing, like, I also expected and hoped for that before we went to Scotland, so I was excited about it. And there was definitely. That was definitely true. I felt like there were a lot of people in Scotland were very pumped when they, heard us talking or found out where we were from or whatever. And there was and also England. But one thing I was surprised about, and I don't know if it's something about us or what it was, I thought, because people in England were saying yeah, they're really going to go in on us while you're up there, basically.
Yeah, especially because it was the Queen's Jubilee and all that
shit.
Shit.
Right. We expect to be a whole lot of vitriol in that direction. And it was also funny because the English people would be like, well, what do you think about the Scots? And we're like, well, they're kind of upset, and I guess I understand why. It was because we sort of did take their land and oppress them for generations and all that. So
not let them be independent.
So sure, I hear you. It was, they had this sort of you'll have that. It's like they understood the disdain that a lot of other peoples had for England and why, but they were also just yeah, what are you gonna do?
But they did acknowledge it.
No, they did. Yeah,
I'm not used to that type of. I'm not used to that type of behavior
but they acknowledged it in a very casual way.
Yeah, right.
We sort of did all.
Aren't
that
the Scots
shit,
Aren't the Scots way more cool though with being a part of the UK than Ireland is, generally speaking?
Oh, Northern
Ireland,
Ireland, but they're not cool with it. They were, they had a referendum on leaving the UK 5 or 6 years ago, and it barely lost. And then since then, there's been Brexit and all this other shit. And so most every Scotland people we talked to,
Scooters,
were telling us that they were saying 100% we are going to be independent in the next few years. And they were
especially because of the Brexit shit.
Right. They're
well, I knew that the Brexit shit changed it. I think I thought that referendum was less close than it was.
No, it was 52 to 48 type thing, apparently.
Because I do be keeping up with Scotland a little bit. I really dig the Scotch. I like their politics. I like the way they've organized their society as best I can tell.
Yeah, no, me too. I dig all that as well. The one thing I was about to say about that I was surprised about, but I guess I sort of get it. Like I said, I thought there'd be all this vitriol toward the English because we asked a bunch of them, what about the English? What do you think? And it was always I think it's like they wanted to keep it in house or something.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. We were out, they wouldn't just start going off on them. They'd be like, yeah, well, we want to be our own country and all that, but we don't have a problem with English people. They really downplayed it, which I thought they were going to just go in, but that never really happened. I think it's because we were Americans.
Yeah, it's like when Yankees.
Yeah.
They try to get us to talk shit about our dads.
Right.
That's pretty good. Yeah. And I'm just I want to, but not to you.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen how that goes before.
Yeah.
But I was seeing posts on Reddit because when I was on Reddit over there, I was getting the UK version of Reddit, because
that's cool.
Well, it's just a timing thing because we're there.
By the way, same thing on Pornhub.
There you go. But I saw a lot of posts about the Queen's Jubilee. From Scotland that was posted on Reddit that was fuck the fucking Queen, that type of shit. And graffiti all around Glasgow of, fucking Queen can suck my dick type stuff. But we didn't see or get a whole bunch of that. And like I said, I think it was being kept from us because it's this ain't y'all's, this ain't for y'all.
Exactly.
That's our thing. We're not going to share it with you.
We close down this podcast with "Fuck the Queen" every week.
I heard
I changed the lyrics, so I'm with it. I knew I was Scottish. I am Scottish, literally.
Yeah. No, it was fucking nuts, man. When we got off the train in Edinburgh, literally just stepped off the train, you immediately go, holy fuck, this is Game of Thrones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is goddamn, there's a castle right there. But also on the train going over there, me and Trae both looked at each other and we were this is East Tennessee.
Well, that was the train from Edinburgh to Inverness. So
yeah, right.
When we got from the Scottish Lowlands into the Scottish Highlands, we got into the Scottish Highlands. I swear to God,
Yeah.
It looks just
And-
like
and I-
Appalachia. Like
I
it looks
told
just like
him-
East Tennessee.
Well, I
told him,
mean,
was
I'm
like, it
currently
makes-
at Andy's house. She went to Scott County High School, home of the Highlanders. You
There you
know,
go.
we went
Yeah,
to
right.
Maryville College, the Fighting Scots. I mean,
Yeah.
it's here,
Well,
baby.
It just, I was telling Trae, I was like, it really makes sense that those people came to America, got as far as East Tennessee, and went, "This is fucking it right here. This is
Yeah, right.
home."
Well,
You know?
that's definitely true, and I could be wrong, but I think also back when they were just giving out land to white people, or the American government was trying to tell people where they should go, they were telling Scottish people like, "Hey, you'll like it there," you know.
So, but Simon, our first tour guide, or no, this was later on. Somebody told us that there was a theory that
Gangs.
before the continental drift, that those were just
Yeah.
the same mountain regions.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I'd never heard that before, but this dude's a PhD in history. It's not Gaines, I think was his name, and he's a Scottish
Gaines.
guy.
And a fan.
And he was talking. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was a fan, but he said that.
What up, Gaines?
He was saying a lot of Scottish people ended up in Appalachia and all that stuff, and that there was a lot of like connection there and whatnot. But I'd never heard until he said, he was like, yeah, actually, before, like in Pangea, before the continent split apart, he's like, those are literally the same mountains. Like that was connected to the Appalachian Mountains before everything split apart. So it's like geologically,
Ain't that bananas?
those are the same.
I'm gonna look
the
into
same
this.
age of this in the same type of mountains and rocks and stuff.
That's
which
so interesting. I mean,
yeah.
So the smashing of the continents is how those mountains were formed. So it's like we could have smashed together, formed the mountains, and then broke apart. But I'm struggling with this north and south-wise because the Appalachians stop in Pennsylvania, but then just north of there, you got the Adirondacks. I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine how this went down.
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond my fathomability. Is that a word? Fathomability?
I wonder if he generally means the East Coast ranges of the Americas.
Yeah.
Rather than specifically the Appalachians, because there's so much space between the Appalachians and the Adirondacks that they're separate mountain ranges. But that makes way more sense to me. And those are basically the same mountains too, to be fair. It's just that it's not a continuous range.
Yeah, and the reason they all came over and ended up in Appalachia and all that stuff in the first place was because the rich people over there, the landed gentry in Scotland, they had a meeting and somebody realized one day, they're like, we got all these poor people living on our land just farming it, but they just farm it to survive. Like, they're not really making us any money. What would make us a lot more money is if we had a bunch of sheep on that land instead of poor people. Like, sheep are worth way more money than poor people. And they were all like, holy shit, you're right. What are we doing? This is crazy. So they just like kicked all the poor people out of that whole area, the Scottish Highlands. And they didn't make them go to different countries, but the people that they like kicked out just did, because they were like, fuck this place. Like, where am I supposed to go here? I'm not going to stay here. So that's the Scottish diaspora or whatever, if that's the right usage of that word, comes from their rich people just deciding, y'all are gross, you need to leave.
And it's just starting to make so much sense.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why my teeth don't hit.
And
right.
I pointed this out to Trae too when we first got to Glasgow. Like, everybody in England that we talked to was super nice to us, but like sort of like a New Yorkie way. They don't really go out of their way to engage. You know what I'm saying? The second we got to Scotland, like my water bottle was about to fall out of my bag on the escalator, and this Scottish guy was like, "Hey, buddy, let me help you out here." And there were just several times where like random Southern hospitality things would happen that didn't happen in England. And so that really started, clicking with me too. I was like, oh, maybe that's why we're like that. They're just a more friendly people.
That dude robbed Corey. He stole his identity.
He probably
took his wallet, got his ID out, put it back. Well, that's super dope. Are you guys allowed to talk about anything else? I mean, that was one thing. I started to bring it up, and then I was like, I don't even know, what. But like, did y'all get any work done? Did you just get drunk? Was it both?
I got some work done a little bit. I kept up with all my Patreon stuff, and I did some writing and shit while we were there, because I didn't want to. I know how my brain is, and I was like, if I take 3 weeks off without keeping up with my shit at all, without doing anything, like I'll be all over myself, like depression wise.
Yeah.
And but I mean, dude, not like
we drank our asses off.
Yeah.
He got more pages done than I did. I got some pages done. We took a lot of notes. We did a lot of like audio journaling, you know, at the end of some days to try to keep our thoughts on track. And I was able to keep my personal work going, my Substack and everything, surprisingly. But it was very difficult because, man, it just like it is in hotels over here, the internet was just fucking shite the whole fucking time, especially like in the Cotswolds and shit.
Well, we here at WellRED Nation, we were very happy you guys had a good honeymoon.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that, by the way.
I think a lot of places definitely thought we were, you know, a nice gay couple from America.
We went to
because it
watched you guys.
Felt like a honeymoon.
We got to one hotel.
Is that right? Is that what it felt like?
Yeah. We got to one hotel and they had us like a bottle of champagne and strawberries on the thing, and I don't think they just do that for everybody.
That's so funny. Corey's like, "Oh, you guys brought us champagne and strawberries," and the guy's like, "Yeah, you mean you requested it? You wrote it 4 times."
Yeah.
We also had to tell them a couple of times to like, I don't know if American hotels, maybe I've just never noticed, but almost every hotel room we were in over there, they have like a bed. There's 2 like twin size beds that they can put together into one big bed. And so like they can just use the same room for any time, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like for either. And so, I mean, it's smart. It makes sense. But like there were a few times where we had to tell them, it's like, no, can you
unzip our bed, please?
Can you make it 2 beds? And they're like, oh,
we like to fuck on that one and sleep on this one. Yeah.
Like, you sure you guys need 2? We just assumed, you know.
One's for farting.
Yeah. But
I
farted a lot.
We do have to go. Man. Yeah, we got a meeting here in a minute. So,
well, hey, thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night.
Fuck the queen.
Fuck the queen.
I got him to say it.
I don't give a fuck. Fuck her.
Welcome back to Puttin On Airs.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast about all fancy things provided to you by 2 men who are not fancy. Hello, Trae.
The 2 least fancy people on planet Earth.
What is that accent I just did?
I think just
drunk.
A duke. Just a drunk
hello.
Duke. Yeah.
That's always like my go.
Bring me.
It just sounds.
Yeah, you don't even have to say words. It's just.
I would definitely be able to know if someone was British by the way they came.
Yeah. By Joe.
Bring in someone to clean this.